Throughout the ages, women's rights have differed from men's. Through this short documentary, we hope that you will learn about the rights of women from then to now and realize the importance of equality and responsibilities today. In ancient Egypt, women mostly received the same legal and economic rights. Social class was the only thing that really impacted your rights. Born around 1508 BC, an Egyptian female leader was Hatshepsut. After reigning as queen beside her husband, she resumed the title of pharaoh for 20 years, the longest reign of any female pharaoh in ancient Egypt.
However, the most defining positions for a lady in Greek 4th century BC was childbearer and housewife. In marriage, a young woman was given to a male partner by another male family member, much like a gift or a transaction between men. Inheritance laws were also very unbalanced towards women. A man had total control of any property while he was alive, and when he died, property went on to the next male relative who was of age.
The only case in which a female could claim property was if her brother died. Even in this case, the property was managed by a male relative. The social life of women in ancient Greece was not too great either. Women were only allowed to socialize outdoors if her husband was in a powerful position in society, and if he granted her permission.
Another society that gave women more freedoms were the ancient Native Americans. In many Native American tribes, women had jobs as warriors, builders, farmers, and craftsmen. For some tribes, there were general rules for which jobs females and males should have, but either gender could take on the other's responsibilities if they so desired. Life as a woman in the Middle Ages was pretty depressing. Women were considered widely inferior, and any man could order a woman to do his will. If the lady refused, it was acceptable for her to be beaten, as disobedience was considered a crime against God. However, women of royalty lived comfortably, and when the concept of chivalry came into play, women were better respected by men.
One famously strong woman from the Middle Ages was Joan of Arc. Born in 1412, she was supposedly born into the French peasant class and could communicate with dead saints at the age of 12. At the age of 17, as legend has it, she cut her hair off and dressed as a man to join the French army. A successful military leader, she led her faction to many victories. She was later burned by the British and the French collaborators as a witch.
When Victorian Britain became an industrial region, it had large consequences for the ways in which women were viewed. In particular, the idea of separate zones, women in the private zone of the home, and men in the public zone of business, politics, and sociability, influenced the choices and experiences of all women, at home, at work, and in the streets.
In the Revolutionary War, women were thought to be too simple to understand war strategies, so they were often used as spies. However, many were never caught spying, and their secret role may never have been documented. Some women, like Abigail Adams, supported the cause in other ways, nursing injured soldiers, providing supplies, and even creating ammunition. In the spirit of Joan of Arc, many women also dressed as men to participate in the war. After the war, veterans of both genders were able to receive pensions for their service.
Perhaps one of the most famous moments in history for women's rights was the period known as women's suffrage. During this period, recently after the Civil War, women fought and succeeded in their siege for women's voting rights. Women in Europe and America held parades and vigils because they were not content to let men decide all of the representation. By this time, African Americans had voting rights, but still women did not. As a matter of fact, women were the first suffrage group to be arrested for holding a peaceful silent vigil outside the White House for their rights.
Many men were also involved in the women's suffrage movement. One such man was Henry Blackwell, founder of the American Women's Suffrage Association. Blackwell was born to Samuel and Hannah Blackwell, who taught their children to treat all people equally and kindly. Around 1847, Henry Blackwell began to court Lucy Stone, a renowned feminist of the time. Together, they founded the ASWA and the Women's Journal in Boston.
Susan B. Anthony, one of the most well-known suffrage leaders, registered and voted in 1872 in Rochester, New York. She argued that it was her right to vote under the 14th Amendment. However, she was arrested and the court ruled that the 14th Amendment didn't apply to women. Despite this, the suffrage movement persevered, forming groups such as National American Women's Suffrage Association, and strongly protested, bringing women's suffrage to courts across America. In 1920, the 19th Amendment was passed, giving women the right to vote.
Today, many women working face issues such as less pay than the average man.
For example, women do not receive the same pay as a male in the same profession. So let's say you are both teachers and you have a female and a male with the same experience. The male will receive more salary, and the woman, according to her race, will receive less money. So a white woman will receive 77 cents of a dollar of a white male. A black woman will receive 65 cents of a dollar of a white male. And a Latina woman will receive 54 cents. So I am at the bottom of the list. So if you take a male professor and a female professor at UCF, you take me as a Latino female professor, I will make 54 cents out of a dollar of a male white professor. In our fields and within our government, the only guarantee sometimes is the federal government. When you have a job that is placed on a particular level and they pay a certain amount, but they always have a range. Within that range, the white male will receive more money. But in other professions, we do not have any guarantee. So you could be a nurse.
It can be hard. And like, I worked at the Capitol for a while, and I worked on the Senate side, like where the Senate actually meets. And it was really, really cool, but it was like such a boys club, you know, and they could be really mean, and they like didn't always want to talk to me or be nice to me, or they'd be like, oh, hey there, pretty lady.
That is not the end of these modern-day injustices towards women. Phenomena such as the second shift and parts of the world where education for girls is highly undervalued are some of these modern injustices.
I think now that even though women are like having jobs and making money and doing all these great things, they're still kind of expected to do all of the things at home. Like, they're still expected to be the one that mostly takes care of the children and educating the children and picking out the daycare and, you know, making sure everyone gets fed, and like, it's not always balanced.
We fought and won our rights. Now it is time for the world to change the idea of a woman's responsibilities, what society thinks a woman should be.
Malala Yousafzai is a teenage activist for female education in Pakistan, a country terrorized by the Taliban. I didn't want my future to be imprisoned in my four walls and just cooking and giving birth, said Malala Yousafzai. She was nominated for the International Children's Peace Prize in 2011 and was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in 2013. On October 9, 2012, tragedy struck. When a man stopped her school bus, he quickly found Malala and lodged a bullet in her skull. She was rushed to a hospital in Britain and soon recovered from her wounds with a metal plate in her skull. Now she travels around the world, spreading hope and inspiration.
I am Dr. M.C. Santana. I have a PhD in International Communication. I am the director of the Women's Studies program at the University of Central Florida. And I have a message for all of you girls out there, future women of the world. Stay in school, graduate, go to college, and finish college. Because if you don't finish college, you only have a high school diploma. And you cannot compete in this market and earn a living with a high school diploma. So please go to college, graduate, stay healthy, protect your body from drugs and any other toxins.
Be nice, learn a lot, and keep moving forward. Even if it's just, you know, like smiling to people on the street, or like being extra nice to your cashier at Starbucks, or whatever you do, like, you can be nice, and those things really make a difference. Like, you don't even have to change the whole world at once. Like, you can just change the world for like your family and your friends, and that's good too. That's a good goal too.